Tarek, explain this to me. This is the second large-scale deadly attack in this region of Pakistan in the last, 14, 15 months. Not the only two attacks, but the only two large ones. What's happening in Peshawar that it breeds such violence?
Well, let me first state something that has not yet been noticed by anyone. Today is the anniversary of one of the saddest days in Pakistan's history. It's December 16th. Today is the day that the Pakistan Armed Forces in 1971 surrendered. 90,000 troops became PFWs, and Bangladesh emerged as a country with Pakistan broken forever. And the humiliation that Pakistanis feel today at the lack of trust they have in Pakistan's military for holding the country together may have a part to play in why a military school was attacked. And this has made most of the people where I was born, which is my birth country, Pakistan, in a tremendous state of rage, anger, confusion, and everything that goes. But even in this moment of tragedy, a number of intellectuals and on Twitter and on the social media are blaming India for having caused this crisis that took place, where 130 children were massacred in cold blood. But the significance...
Fill me in on how India is to blame.
Well, it's a common phenomena. Pakistan's very creation is based on the concept that the Hindus are the evil enemy of all Muslims, which is counter to any historical reality. But this is what is taught to Pakistanis. Even the non-religious ones, even the most secular, liberal, progressive Pakistanis will adhere to that same nonsense, and therefore they are never able to analyze any problem in a rational manner. The reason I see why Taliban attacked this particular school is that it is among the very few public institutions anywhere in the Islamic world where young boys and girls are unsegregated and go to the same school. Number two, as you notice in the young boy being shown on the screen, they wear Western attire, green jackets, white shirts with a green tie. That is what the Taliban have attacked, the mixing of the genders and the wearing of Western attire. This is what I call the Boko Haramization of the Taliban. It is not a coincidence that this school was attacked. It was within a secured perimeter of the Pakistan military. Of course, it was very close to the areas which are called the federally administered tribal areas. But the military itself has been doing the killing of students in next-door Balochistan. 500 students of the Baloch Students Organization, which is called the BSO, have disappeared. A principal of a school, an American Baloch who went there and started a school to teach young children English reading, writing, and to dress up in jackets and ties to learn certain discipline, was assassinated on the street right in front of his school. So this is not something new.
Is this the Taliban or a Taliban-affiliated group have claimed responsibility? Is this part of the war between the Islamists in Pakistan and those who have a different vision?
No, not at all. This is a war between Islamists and Islamists. The Pakistan military created the Taliban in the 90s. Unfortunately, it was Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto who gave the signal for its creation. And you can't get more liberal or progressive than her. But without the consent and intervention of a captain or a major, these terrorists could not have entered the military area.
So you think they had somebody on the inside?
The Pakistan military is divided between a very tiny minority of senior officers who I call the whiskey generals from the British tradition, and a vast number of brigadiers and colonels right down to ordinary ratings who are hardcore Islamists who have been taught that their role is not to defend Pakistan, but their role is to defend the religion of Islam.
The the reasoning for the attack, the outcome in terms of numbers are different, but just the sheer number of children killed reminds me of Beslan about a decade ago. It absolutely horrific.
But there's a difference. The Beslan children were non-Muslim children. In this case, they will have a very tremendous difficulty in justifying as to what was done. Of course, there's no justification, but you already heard what is coming back by people saying, well, since Muslims couldn't have killed Muslims, therefore, this must have been an attack from engineered by next door India. It's really, the Muslim community around the world is in such pain and anguish. They have no leadership. The Western media and the intelligentsia gives that leadership by default to mullahs and women who have covered their faces. None of the ordinary Muslim people are ever listened to. Even over here, we've got de-radicalization experts who were just last month in Qatar
meeting with Taliban
and asking them not to attack countries where Muslims are a minority, and therefore the signal, go and attack Pakistan.
I want to ask you about this. I said at the opening of the show that standing up for Canadian values is difficult for a lot of people here. Generations of Pakistani immigrants that I knew from years ago, and I don't know if it's still the case of those that are choosing to come here, but it's still one of our top source countries. They chose to come here like you did because they valued what Canada offered. They didn't want to make Canada into a mini Karachi. They wanted Canada to be Canada. Do you think, one, that today's Pakistani immigrants still feel that way? Two, do we have enough people willing to stand up for those values for the number of people coming in?
Brian, that's a tough question, because the very essence of Pakistan is based on an Islamic principle that Muslims are not supposed to live in a country where they are a minority. And therefore, this amputated India in 1947 and said, we cannot live under Hindu majority, therefore we need another Pakistan. Now you come to a country where there is a Christian majority, and yet you celebrate every year a Pakistan Day right at the House of Commons at Queen's Park in Toronto. And every member of parliament from all parties join in without realizing that if you celebrate that ideology, you're basically saying that it is okay to live in a country because that provides you a chance to be the fifth column. Now, I'm not saying 90% of the Pakistanis even know this, but the leadership knows that this is something that can be done into a terrible jeopardy. Instead of insisting on a separation of religion and state and saying religion and piety should be in your homes and your hearts, they're asking us to become political by what lectures we hear in the sermons at the mosque.
Yeah. Again, Tarek, I'd like to say good to talk to you, but sometimes it gets a little depressing. We will continue the conversation, though, for sure.